Welcome to Rome. Welcome to Rome Dispatch on this, the third day of the Seda Vacante. And it's Sunday, and kind of a strange Sunday in a way for those of us who live in Rome, used as we are to seeing or hearing the Pope say the Angelus. And there was no papal Angelus today, so we kind of had to get used to that void in our Sunday. Well, I'm on set as usual, but I do have a guest today. And with us as our special guest is Father Pius Petric. He is a Dominican who is studying here in Rome. He's going to tell you about that. He is studying canon law. He is from Arizona. He first studied law and worked for a law firm, as a matter of fact, in Chicago. But now Father is studying canon law in Rome. He had a religious vocation. And you'll be able to read a lot about Father, as a matter of fact, on his blog. And his blog is called Ubi Spiritus Domini, Ibi Libertas. I'll let Father tell you what that means. And there is a lot of information on his blog, by the way, about Seda Vacante, conclave, the legal terms, given his background. So we're going to talk about that for a few minutes before we go into our first video of the day. So, Father, welcome to Rome Dispatch.
Joan, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here with you. A beautiful day here in Rome, too.
It is.
Thanks for mentioning my blog. I've just started actually not too long ago. A number of people asked me about the issues with the Seda Vacante, so I started up. The Latin title means where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Law, too, is a part of our freedom. It helps to give us freedom, but that's also the slogan I used on my holy card when I was ordained, so it's an important line for me.
And Father, what you talk about the resignation of a pope, a rarity in church history. What was your feeling when you heard that?
Surprise. I think like everyone else, I was absolutely surprised. No one was expecting this. There had been rumors, but there were always rumors. I mean, in Rome, there are always rumors. But it came as a complete surprise. No one was expecting it. And you feel a bit of sadness. You know, this is coming. You feel unsettled. All of a sudden, the church is... you're used to seeing the rock, and all of a sudden, the rock's not going to be there for a bit.
Right, exactly. It's a period in which, I've said this on previous shows, it's a period in which we're all adjusting. We're all getting used to it. We're all having this first experience. When I say all, I don't mean you and me, those of us on the set doing this. I mean the Vatican, the College of Cardinals, right. The Media Center. Right. We're all on this new learning curve. So, but tell us a little bit, you mentioned the history. What for you are some of the more important moments now for the conclave? The importance of the conclave, of the congregations, the legal aspects.
In the legal aspects, it's the meetings that the cardinals will have together. Starting tomorrow morning, the first general congregation, well, they'll be coming together, and eventually, probably not tomorrow, but probably Tuesday. And the most important thing that we're all waiting to hear, of course, is when they're going to decide when to begin the actual conclave. That is the time where the electors will come together in the Sistine Chapel to elect a new pontiff, a new pope for the church. And it is a time filled with legal rules and tradition and ceremony, right, and prayer all wrapped up together.
And the Pope, Pope Benedict, in his last motu proprio, as a matter of fact, did open the door for the cardinals to move up the date of the conclave if they so wished. The previous documents had said 15 to 20 days after the Sede Vacante. In this case, it began March 1st. So he did open the door for the earlier start of a conclave. Doesn't mean they have to do it, right, but the possibility is there.
Right, that's right. If all the cardinal electors are present, then they may choose to begin voting early or begin voting right away. We don't know if they're going to do that. We don't know when they're going to do that, but that's certainly a new option for them, one of the Pope's last official acts.
You know, I want to bring something up for a minute. I think you know what I'm going to say about popes and Dominicans. And I was asked once on a radio show, why do popes wear white? You know, and why not? You think of clergy as wearing black. Well, it turns out that Pius V, a Dominican, Pius V, who was Pope from 1566 to 1572, the Dominicans had never not worn their white habit. And so he wanted to wear it as Pope, and he was the first Pope to wear the white habit, and all others did.
And that's my namesake. I've taken the name Pius after Pius V.
You have. Now, we have a film coming up here. We have a film clip, an interview that was done by our own Mary with Cardinal Edwin O'Brien. A lot of you may know him. He was Archbishop at one point of Baltimore. He was head of our military ordinariate. And now Cardinal O'Brien is in Rome, and he heads the Order of the Holy Sepulchre just down the street from us in a very beautiful 14th century building. So let's listen to what Mary and Cardinal O'Brien had to say.
Your Eminence, thank you so much for being with us during this historic time for the Catholic Church. We know you have many appointments and busyness in these coming days, a great responsibility ahead of you as cardinals prepare to head into conclave. But the events of this past week of His Holiness going to Castel Gandolfo, now we have the Sede Vacante, and these days in between choosing his successor are a great time to look back at the impact of this awesome papacy. So my first question would simply be, how would you describe this pontificate of Benedict XVI?
Well, I'll hit that kind of indirectly, okay, and suggest that 2.5 weeks ago, when the Holy Father on the 11th of February made his announcement, he had no idea what the reaction would be. He prayed, he pondered, and he saw what was God's will in his life, and he made the decision. The result could have been very different. The outpouring of love, of faith, has been very, not only emotional, but unpredictable at that time. And I think that has been his pontificate. He's not a man of every talent, and no pope will ever be or has ever been. But those talents he does have and has had, he's used to the best of his ability and to the good of the Church. I think of the initiative of the Anglican priests and congregations entering the Church under their own ordinariate. That was another move that was very dicey, so to speak. No one knew what the results that would be for the ecumenical movement, for people within our community, our Catholic community. But he saw what was right, and he deliberated, and he explained, and he let God do the rest. And so too, his retirement. The very fact that he is teaching us by his going into retirement or into seclusion, into retreat, because he's convinced that prayer is that important, that he will surrender all the earthly tokens of power to something more powerful. I think that sends a message to all of us, but especially I've been thinking of our communities that are given over to contemplation, our religious communities throughout the world and the United States. Hopefully, this will have some impact on them and on others who are thinking to do something very, very precious with their lives.
What are some of the teachings, again, just keeping with the pontificate, and everyone expected a very harsh Ratzinger, Pope Ratzinger, but it was a pontificate of love, his first encyclical on charity. His last word in Italian at the papal audience was amore.
Yes.
I mean, what are some other teachings that have come out of this pontificate that you think will stay with us?
Well, I think you hit it pretty accurately. I remember for the first year or two after he was elected Pope, the general word on the street here in Rome was that you look at the souvenir shops and they'll never forget John Paul II. They'll never, this man, we have not forgotten John Paul II. He has left us an indelible legacy. But by his own life of humility, of faith in God, of commitment and love of the Church and all its people, he's cast a whole new light on what the papacy is and what the essentials of our faith are.
So many of us faithful at home watching these events and trying to understand maybe how cardinals work with the Holy Father and so on and the relationship. What are some personal memories? Because you are his special collaborators, his advisors as cardinals. You have a very long record of service for the Catholic Church. And what are some personal memories you may have with Pope Benedict that you could share with us?
Well, I have not seen the Pope one-on-one at all. Now that I think of it, personal greetings, yes, but as far as, not as much as I did as an archbishop when I sat with him and others, for instance, during our ad limina visits. He was there alone and faced, in our case, maybe 25 American bishops, and this is during the crisis. And he did this with 14 different groups of Americans. And I recall his absorbing all the, not just the issues, but the weight of what we were going through at the time. The complicated scenario legally and interpersonally, what the bishop, and he listened to us for a good 45 minutes. And in 10 minutes to follow up, he summarized everything that was said during those 45 minutes. And not only that, but showed his sympathy, his identity, his empathy with what we were going through. And he was going through the same thing. And I've thought of that the last 7 or 8 years as I have observed him, not from afar, but not intimately and not one-on-one, what he was going through in all that and offering up. He said, for instance, that every Friday he would dedicate to reading some of these horrible stories that would be coming from the States and all over the world, and it was his purgatory, and he would offer that up for the good of souls and for the good of those who were hurt. So a man of great sensitivity, understanding, and somehow he always remained a holy father, but he almost became a holy grandfather. He was always there, and he was always there to support and to console and to encourage. And I think that's what we're going to miss for a while, and hopefully we're grateful for that note of his pontificate.
I think that the Holy Grandfather, that was almost the image that I saw yesterday as you came forth to say your goodbyes one-on-one. What was that moment like for you with the Holy Father?
Well, it was unique. It was something that I'd never dreamed I would have an opportunity to do. Very thoughtful of him to stand there and greet 150 cardinals and then some bishops and some of his staff, and to do so with perfectly focused attention. And response to what everyone had to say in a different way they were saying it, in a different language they were saying it. But he was very present at that moment, and it meant so much to all of us that we had an opportunity personally to thank him and to show him our love and appreciation.
Your Eminence, as you prepare to enter conclave, those of us at home will not be able to see what the cardinals are doing. Just describe for us, if you could, how each day will unfold, what the cardinals will be doing each day, and the awesomeness that you feel, this responsibility of choosing the papal successor.
Well, up to now, and of course this is the day after, as we're speaking now, the day after our Holy Father retired and into seclusion. Up to now, it's all been on him and on this jolt that we've all received in his decision, and in the wonder that has surrounded us as we've seen the reaction on the part of the faithful and the general public. It's good now that we'll have a weekend just to sit back and to make this transition to what the conclave is going to be. We'll have the first week before the conclave, at least, there'll be these general congregations. Now, this is my first time through all this, but we remain at home. And the first day we'll have a meeting in the morning and afternoon, and the rest of the days I'm not sure. But there'll be a general exchange. It'll be in a small audience hall. And I think we'll hear some reports from various cardinals of their own expertise and reflections, and to welcome the reactions of other cardinals, just to get a sense not only of the issues, but also of the personalities that will be in that hall, and to appreciate the richness from which we will draw a new Holy Father. At this stage, we don't know when the conclave will be. I would imagine it'll be around the 13th or 14th. But by then, I think we'll be more certain and more focused on this next step, and that is choosing a Holy Father. That will be, as you know, in total seclusion. I've never experienced that. Even my best attempts to go on retreat, I've never had that much silence and concentration. But it will be just among ourselves. We'll have meals together. We'll be able to speak together informally and formally, and that's very important too. And then to enter the Sistine Chapel. I've seen a film of that from 8 years ago. Very, very impressive and very intimidating in a sense. But somehow or other, you know you're not alone. And not only are you with other cardinals, but the messages I've been getting from people I don't even know about their prayer and their support, it's very reassuring. And I have no doubt, just as Benedict XVI was totally convinced that God was present every moment along his life, and certainly those moments leading up to his papacy and throughout his papacy, that just as he was as convinced that God was with him then, I think each of us will be convinced, if we're prayerful enough and attentive enough to the Word of God, that we will do God's will in choosing a new Holy Father.
Your Eminence, so many Americans watching this program will remember the papal visit in 2008. How would you describe the impact of this pontificate on the U.S., given the ad limites that took place during this pontificate, the new U.S. saints that he canonized? How would you describe this effect on the United States?
Well, I think he's always had a great affection for Americans, and he has shown that, I think, throughout his papacy and many of the appointments he has made. In receiving our present president, I think he was disarming of all of us in his visit to the United States, to see him in the lawn of the White House and the salute that good old President Bush gave him with the old guard parading in front of him, with the extraordinary compliments he had in his speeches while in the States, but also challenges as to what freedom is and what the role of the church should be in society, and what freedom the church needs in order to contribute to society. And I think that is something that we're all concerned about these days, with an administration that's not always appreciative of the role of the church and of the freedom that the church needs to be faithful to its mission, and its mission not only to Christ and the challenge he gives us, but also to our people, whom we have to serve generously in our educational efforts and our charitable efforts. So I think his words should be read and reread by all concerned when it comes to the United States, because he still has a lot to teach us.
Your Eminence, thank you so much for making the time to speak with us today. Please be assured of Mother Angelica's prayers as you go through this historic time in the church, and we hope that you will keep us in yours as well.
Will do, Mary. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. And thanks, EWTN. What a precious service you are providing our church and our country in this full coverage, and the experts you'll be having in the weeks to come. It's a great contribution. Thank you, and thank Mother Angelica and all connected with the station.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Thank you so much for making the time for us today.
Good.
Thank you.
All right.
That was really special. Oh, Father Pius, we only have like a minute and a half of time. We can't discuss the whole interview. Were you as struck as I was by what he said about the Pope doing on Fridays, when he would read the news and dispatches from around the world, and felt like it was a purgatory?
Oh, that was a particularly moving moment. This personalization of the sense, the union between the Holy Father and the whole Church is quite extraordinary. It really helps to convey this sort of vortex of emotions we've all been going through, and how the Pope himself really is part of all that, and to remember his own emotional life, his own prayer life that's so unified to everything that's going on. It was quite striking.
Absolutely. I think we probably felt it inside of ourselves on a Sunday Angelus, for example, when he would plea for people who had suffered a hurricane or a storm or an earthquake. Oh, my word, by the way, there was an earthquake today, just 2.5 on the Richter scale at Castel Gandolfo. So very touching words by Cardinal Edwin O'Brien there. And also I was struck by when he talked about the seclusion of the conclave. Yes, they'll sitting with other people, but it is a moment of great seclusion. So, but now we are ready for another clip here, and this is actually from the Vatican press briefing on Saturday, when Father Lombardi, Federico Lombardi, reminded the journalists of Pope John Paul's 2003 book called Roman Triptych. And it's actually meditations, one of which is on the Last Judgment, the wall, of course, the far wall in the Sistine Chapel. These are reflections by John Paul II when he was in conclave. Of course, he was not John Paul II then. He was in a conclave, his reflections. So let's hear Father Tom Rosica tell us what Father Lombardi did about that book.
A book to keep in mind as we prepare for the conclave is a reflection that Pope John Paul II published in the final years of his pontificate. It does exist in English as well. It's called the Roman Triptych, a series of meditations, particularly on the Wall of Judgment, or the image of judgment in the Sistine Chapel. I just want to read to you one part of it that Father Lombardi wrote. It's from the epilogue written by Pope John Paul II. The Sistine painting will then speak with the word of the Lord, Tu es Petrus, as Simon the son of Jonah heard. To you I will give the keys of the kingdom. Those to whom the care of the legacy of the keys has been entrusted gather here, allowing themselves to be unfolded by the Sistine's colors. What's even more interesting is the preface of this book was written by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger. And I want to read to you one line from that, which is quite evocative, especially in these days. From the interior eyes of the Pope emerges once again the remembrance of the conclaves of August and October of 1978, because I was there also, and I know how much we were exposed to the images in the hours of the great decisions as those who really touched us, and they interpolated, they stopped us, and they reminded us of the greatness of the responsibility that was placed upon our soul. So this is an important book to kind of revisit as we prepare for these great moments. Thank you.
Amazing, profound words by then Cardinal Ratzinger, and of course the Pope's reflections are quite amazing in that book. The one I held up was the cover for the Italian version, and you can read excerpts from this book on EWTN's online site. So go to EWTN.com, just as a little reminder there. And another reminder, do tune in tomorrow, and our guest will be Cardinal Donald Wuerl, the Archbishop of Washington, and Monsignor Keith Newton. He's the ordinary of the Ordinariate of Our Lady of Walsingham in the UK. As you know, the Ordinariate welcomed the Anglicans into the Catholic Church. And we're going to have EWTN's own Father Dominic Mary. So don't miss that. And another way you can follow everything we're doing, our television, our radio, our online site, also the Register, the National Catholic Register online. So, well, Father Pius, I don't know where the time goes on these.
Yeah,
it seems like we just sat down here, but just a couple of seconds here of final reflections, perhaps on what'll be, we've got like 3 minutes left to talk about what would be this huge challenge, this weight on the Cardinals' shoulders as they go into congregations tomorrow.
I think we have to think of it both as a weight on them, but a weight on us as well. It oppresses the whole church, and we're reminded we are a body. This group of cardinals does its role in this time, but we have our role too, and we can't forget that. And we have our role to pray for our cardinals, and we need to be joined with them in faith and in prayer, so that the Holy Spirit really moves through their action to give us the leader that God wants to move the church into the future.
And the cardinals pretty much know what they're doing, other than those who've been in the conclave.
About half of them know.
Yes, some have never been
Right.
in a conclave before, but they have it all set out for them, the basics, in John Paul's 1996 Constitution, right. Universi Dominici Gregis. So they kind of know how their days are going to be set out, and we are going to discover that bit by bit. There will be briefings every day, but from what you know, what are we looking at? What's the daily menu?
Well, the daily menu is, once they start conclave, it will be the ballots, and they're very long because they each have to make an oath, and so it takes a lot of time to do the ballots. So we'll probably do at most 4 ballots a day. Remember, Benedict was elected
2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
And remember, Benedict was elected in 4 ballots. I expect that we would have longer than 4 ballots, but that's pretty much what they'll be doing. They'll be praying and voting once the conclave starts.
But it's the cardinals themselves, this probably all this week, we don't know yet, in the congregations, they will decide, probably not tomorrow, Monday, possibly Tuesday or Wednesday, then they will decide actually when the conclave will begin.
And these days are preparatory, where they'll just talk together in a prayerful way about the qualities they're looking for and who they think will make the next pope. And they'll be doing those discussions until the conclave starts, the election starts.
That has to be a huge choice for the cardinals who every cardinal is going to know some cardinals better than others. And then he may hear that, well, do you know so-and-so from XYZ country? And he's going to want to learn more about him. So it's a continual learning process. And I think I'd want to do all that learning in a chapel and be praying as I'm
learning on your knees, as is some of the best way.
Learning and discerning. So, no, this has been a wonderful experience today. I thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Again, the Dominican relation to popes wearing white. So it's been another wonderful and very quick day. Where do these moments go? But I want to return now to studio in Birmingham to Doug Keck, and we will be back here at this spot this time tomorrow, so please join us.
Thank you very much, Joan. That's terrific. Rome Dispatch, and of course later today you can catch an encore presentation of Rome Dispatch with Joan Lewis and other special programming. The best way to keep track is go to EWTN.com and check the program schedule in your area. And we'll continue, as Joan indicated, to bring you Rome Dispatch with Joan Lewis every day to keep you up to date on what's happening. And looking ahead toward the middle of next week, Wednesday, March 6th, you'll see us ramp things up with a special Rome edition of EWTN Live at its usual time, followed on Thursday by special Rome editions of The World Over Live and Life on the Rock. Then on Friday, March 8th, our coverage expands with more daily live programming from Vatican City. Beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern, EWTN Vatican Daily with Colleen Carroll Campbell kicks off, offering in-depth analysis and perspective on the day's events. And then at 2 p.m. Eastern, the one and only Raymond Arroyo is there with his guest experts, bringing you all that's happening in the Eternal City with Live from the Vatican. And then on radio, look for Tom Price hosting our daily program, EWTN Radio Live from the Eternal City. Now, this is a special radio-only program. Check it out. And of course, we always invite you to make EWTN your everywhere source for the latest interregnum and conclave news information. You can follow us on Twitter. Just hit hashtag EWTN-from-Rome. And of course, whether it's TV, radio, streaming on the web with EWTN.com, Roku, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or checking us out on Facebook, please like us. That would be great. EWTN is everywhere. And of course, just in time for the interregnum and the upcoming conclave, download our free EWTN app to watch us on your iPad or iPhone. Plus, the Android version is coming soon. Look for that. And just a reminder to please keep us between your gas and electric bill. This is a family affair. And we will be back tomorrow morning with another edition of Rome Dispatch with Joan Lewis. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern, 1600 Rome time. I'm Doug Keck. Stay with us through our coverage. Thank you.